What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Facts and Stats. This is now episode 111. Truly thankful, truly blessed, and truly honored to have two guests here with me. Before I have them introduce themselves, if you made it here in the beginning, do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And check out Facts and Stats every day, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time with our daily sports show. Also, Facts and Stats is a clothing brand. Feel free to check out the website for all Facts and Stats apparel. Pretty much it's factandstats.us. factandstats.us. And now we're going to go ahead and get back to the episode side of things today. And like I said, I have two guests here with me, one Eagles fan and one Chiefs fan. I'm allowing them to introduce themselves. We're going to go ahead and get started.
What's up? What's up? How you guys doing, man? Ev,
What's
how's it
going
going?
on?
What's going on?
I'm doing well, man. Can't complain. Super Bowl week, man. I'm excited.
I'm glad both of y'all are here. Obviously, I know you guys for a couple of years now. A lot of shit talk amongst each other, a lot of smack talk amongst all three of us, and one being a Ravens, one being the Eagles, one being a Chiefs fan. All year, I thought it was going to be Ravens Eagles. That was my pick. Dmac, I'm sure all year thought his team was going to be in the Super Bowl, and all year Process thought his team was going to be in the Super Bowl. Good thing is this is a rematch, so we'll dive into that later on today as well. Before we get into the Super Bowl things, talking about the matchups and X factors and things of that nature. Dmac, since you guys, on the brinks of potentially repeating, I want you to give us a full season rewind. Like, how did you feel this year as a Chiefs fan? Talk about week 1 all the way through week 18, and then talk about now with your first the two playoff games you guys played.
So crazy, for a team that only lost, one game during the regular season, which we were trying to win from that standpoint. It felt like we went through a lot of adversity at times, obviously losing Hollywood Brown, losing Isaiah Pacheco, losing Jalen Watson, getting Charles Omenihu back halfway through the season. Felt like we went through a lot of attrition from that kind of standpoint. But, I mean, we came into this year really confident about our team. We were coming off of the back-to-back Super Bowl championships. We knew we had the chance to do something historic. And having gone through this process now the last 2 years previous to that, obviously having made these deep playoff runs with Patrick Mahomes on a consistent basis, we know what the formula was, and we knew that we're going to play like some BS close tight games during the regular season, because that's what we're going to do. We're not going to try to necessarily show too much from that standpoint, and that's exactly what we did. And we kept the games close, and we won on blocked field goals and missed fumbles, etc. But ultimately, the goal was to make sure that we were the 1 seed, and the playoffs ran through Arrowhead once again. We were able to accomplish that. Got our bye week, a bye week that we really needed, based on the fact that we have played more, games over the last 5 years than any other team in the National Football League. Got ourselves well rested, handled business divisional round, took care of the Bills once again in the playoffs, and here we're back in the Super Bowl. So some things didn't go according to plan. Obviously, the offensive injuries that we suffered, having to go through the left tackle situation, wasn't great. But ultimately speaking, the plan that we laid out at training camp, making sure you secure the division, secure the 1 seed, have yourself set up for the playoffs at home, all that did go to plan, and we're back here 1 game away from achieving the ultimate goal that we set out for in Arrowhead.
Yeah, well said, brother. A lot of things that I gotta agree with you guys. And congrats, to you as well. And Process, same to you. Speaking of Process, though, I want you to talk about week 1 through 18 and talk about all 3 games, because obviously you guys didn't have the first round bye. You had to play 3 games to get to where you are now. So just dive into it. Like, how you feel about it? How are you feeling throughout the season? How are you feeling now?
Well, compared to how I felt in the beginning of the season, and then to like 5 games into the season was crazy. Going into the season, I thought the Eagles were going to be great because of the offseason moves. I mean, they had an incredible offseason, a great draft. Getting Saquon was just an insane move for us. But then you saw the season play out, and I always had doubts of Nick Sirianni. And the first 4 games, we sucked. I mean, we looked like a shell of what everyone thought we were supposed to be. Nothing was clicking. Our offense didn't look that good. Obviously, Barkley was still good, but the offense didn't look good. Our defense was not that good. The first game of the season, we were playing Green Bay. It didn't look too good. We had that shaky game against Atlanta where we choked. And then we had the bye week, and I said after the bye, I said, listen, if this team doesn't go 4-0 in their next 4 games, they're going to have to make a move at coach or something, because I didn't like Nick. I didn't think he was the guy to be our head coach at the time. And they came out to bye, played the Browns, and they looked shaky in that game too. They won it. And then after that, they hit the ground running, and they looked like the most dominant force in football since then. So I do have to eat my words about Nick because he did do a good job of getting this team together after some ups and downs, especially considering last season how we were, 10-1, and then we go and lose every game but one, at the end of the year, and ended up only finishing with 11 wins. So that was such a bad end of the season. So for him to rally them up and get them ready for this season, and to pan out how it did at the end, and how they just dominated at every facet of the ball after that Browns week. I mean, we're the best defense in football. Barkley's the best running back in football. They're the best offensive line in football. Some of the best weapons in football. Hurts has been playing really good football, consistent, clean football. It's just been a dominant way to play the game for the past 15 weeks. So I think that, going into the playoffs, I was confident. I wanted that 1 seed, but we messed up by losing that game against Washington when Pickett had to come in and Hurts got hurt. So that's when we lost the 1 seed. But, it ended up working out because every game had to come play through Philly because the Lions lost. So game 1 against Green Bay, I thought it was a tough matchup because Love is good and they got some weapons, but I wasn't too worried about it because I just thought we were too overpowering offensively for them, and our defense was going to be able to turn them over, and that's exactly what they did. We have the most forced fumbles in the NFL this year. And, you saw how good Zach Bond's been, and DeJean and Quignon and all them guys just, they're really aggressive. They hit hard. So I wasn't worried about that. Then you got the Rams, who they have a good offense. They have those weapons. They got that dominant defensive line who really did well against us. Verse talked a lot of shit, but he backed it up. So I wasn't worried about that game either going into it. But, it was shaky because of the end of the game. We almost let it up in that prevent defense when we went up 2 scores. It was getting a little close. The snow definitely helped us out, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, I wasn't worried about Washington. They were lucky to beat, not lucky. They played really great football all year, and they played a heck of a game against the Lions. But it's just tough for a new team, a rookie quarterback, to come into the Philadelphia and win the NFC Championship game away after being away every game. There's a statistic out there saying, I don't think any quarterback has won 3 straight road playoff games ever. So, Daniels, he's probably one of the best rookies we've ever seen. So I wouldn't be shocked if it was him that did it. But it's just a tough place to play. Our defense was too good. They didn't have enough on offense. They don't have a run game. They had a couple good passes. Ertz did well. Terry had that one play against Slay. But other than that, we just dominated. I mean, we put up 55 points in a NFC Championship game. So, and we turned them over too. So we had a pick, a couple fumbles on special teams, on defense. So I wasn't really worried about any of those games. I'd say the Rams I probably was the most nervous about just because of the weather and who knows what can happen in games like that. But, I mean, I wasn't really worried about Washington.
Respect. Definitely understandable. I got to ask you a question. It just crossed my mind. And I'm going to ask Dmac the same thing. But you're big on saying, and you said this numerous times, in fact, in stats, whether it was this year, whether it was last year, but you said you feel like Hurts outplayed Mahomes in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Do you think that'd be a repeating thing? And if you don't think that's a repeating thing, do you think you guys can win the game without him outperforming Mahomes?
Yeah, I mean, I do think he outperformed him in the two Super Bowls ago. On a statistic level, obviously, he did have that turnover, which hurt us, but I mean, he played a near perfect game. He fumbled the ball, but other than that, he had 300 yards. He had 4 total touchdowns. Was our biggest running threat that game because, we had Sanders at the time. He was doing nothing. We could not get the ball moving with our running back at all that game. Devontae Smith had a hell of a game. AJ was good, but it was a battle back and forth. We had a 10-point lead at halftime. And that was after he fumbled the ball. So you're going into halftime with a 10-point lead. Yeah. That fumble matters for sure. It probably would have made it a bigger lead, but you're up 10 in the Super Bowl with a half to go. You got to keep that lead. And I think our defense coordinator and our head coach were the reason we blew it. He didn't get the ball back at the end of the game. And that's a testament to how good the Chiefs are because, we couldn't stop them either, especially in that second half. Mahomes, he had that ankle, but, I mean, he was running all over the place, making plays, so he played really good. But I do think this year is different. I mean, you've seen games this year where Hurts doesn't have to outplay his opposing quarterback to win the game because of how good our team is and how good our run game is. And we lull you to sleep with the run, and then Saquon will just rip off a 50-yard touchdown, and then ice the game. And it's just we don't really have to be a pass heavy team to win. He doesn't have to go out there and be a superhero. He doesn't have to go out there and be Josh Allen or a Lamar Jackson or whatever to win, and that's a luxury for our team. But I also think he's got the capability to do that, and you saw that against Washington last game. They're not the best opponent. They're not better than the Chiefs. I get it, but he played a hell of a game. So I don't think he needs to be the Jalen Hurts that we saw 2 years ago, but if he is, it's just a bonus.
How do you feel about that, Dmac? Do you think he outplayed Mahomes 2 years ago? And then do you think that the Eagles can win the game without him? Same question to you basically. Like, do you think Mahomes is going to outplay him? And if so, do you think that'll higher you guys' chance to win, or you just feel like you guys can win the game without even Mahomes not even outplaying him?
Yeah, I mean, 2 years ago, I think Jalen Hurts played an excellent game. He did a great job. We challenged him specifically to be the engine on the ground and then also through the air. He was making a lot of tight window throws throughout that game. That being said, I don't think that he outplayed Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes was near perfect in the second half. He had one incomplete pass. The real situation is Hurts just had 15 more plays, and ultimately that's why the volume looks a little bit better from that standpoint. Mahomes, outpaced him by total EPA per play, completion percentage over expected, all the numbers across the board. Mahomes was more efficient and he had a better game. And ultimately, that last drive was about Patrick Mahomes being able to possess the ball and make sure that there wasn't enough time left on the clock for the Eagles to answer. And he did a great job of that. And that's why we ultimately won the game. But fast forwarding to this game, I don't think Jalen Hurts has played a game as great as that game since then. And that's a testament to how great he really was. I thought he stood, toe to toe with Patrick Mahomes as well as you could have asked Jalen Hurts to. And I don't expect necessarily Jalen Hurts to outplay Mahomes, and I don't expect us to win if he does. If that happens, we're not going to be able to win. That being said, fortunately, Patrick Mahomes doesn't have those games in the playoffs in which he plays below his standards from that aspect. And so Jalen Hurts has the opportunity here. I think you're going to see a similar level of challenge from our defense to the Eagles of saying, hey, you're going to have to beat us in some ways that maybe will make you uncomfortable, and we'll get into those matchups as well. But Jalen Hurts coming to the table. He's a good quarterback. He has his moment once again, to shine on the biggest stage. If he brings a similar effort to he did in that Super Bowl, it's going to be incredibly tough for us to beat this Eagles team, no doubt about it. But, I still trust Patrick Mahomes to get it done in the end.
So I'm going to circle back to you. Then with that being said, then what do you think would be different from what we saw 2 years ago in the Super Bowl, 2023 in February, to now 2025 in February? And do you think you guys will have more control over the game, or you see a way where you guys can go similar to the first game where you guys went down 10 points or we're down 10 at halftime?
Well, look, I think that both of these teams are going to have control over these things from the standpoint. I think the Eagles are a better team than they were 2 years ago. A major piece of our game plan was being able to shut down the running back run game. Miles Sanders into the game were just not a factors. I don't expect that to happen for Saquon Barkley. He has the ability. He's a special, unique talent in this league. He's going to leave an imprint in this game from that standpoint. I think the Eagles defense, particularly at the second and third levels, are a little bit better as well, and that's going to help them significantly. Their defensive line is a little bit different, where the pass rush isn't necessarily driven by the edges, a little bit more from the interior of the defensive line, which is a little bit different as well from this matchup. But we're also a better team. I truly believe that. Our wide receiver core is night and day. Obviously, throughout that game, we were throwing at Kadarius Toney, Juju, Sky Moore, those types of guys. MVS, of course, we have a much better trio to start out from that standpoint. Juju is now our wide receiver 4 as well. Noah Gray, our second tight end, is better as well from that aspect. I think our running back room in general is better. Kareem Hunt has been, a better running back to go alongside Isaiah Pacheco. Samaje Perine has been really good on those third downs too from that standpoint as well. And I think our defense is better. Those rookies that were in that first Super Bowl in 2022 have now matured. Those guys are now playing along with the better defensive line depth. You add in a guy like Charles Omenihu as well to go along with Chris Jones, who's a really underrated piece. Tershawn Wharton's even better. He had torn his ACL. He wasn't in that game too. Drew Tranquil being added to that linebacker core. So there are some added pieces, I think, on both sides that are going to change as far as the matchups are concerned. And as a result, going into this game, I always trust what the game plan is going to look like from our side. But also the Eagles have really good game planning guys. Kellen Moore is a better offensive coordinator. Vic Fangio is a better defensive coordinator than Jonathan Gannon as well. So it presents a different type of challenge, and we're going to have to adjust accordingly if we want to get out of here with a W for sure.
Same to you, Process, man. Will said, Dmac. Same to you, man. What do you obviously roster are different. Obviously, both teams made improvements to the roster, to particular rooms or just the whole entire team, period. What do you think ultimately will be different? Like the main thing that'll stand out and be different for you guys this year?
I mean, yeah, the main thing is the defense. I mean, we could not stop them, especially in the second half. I mean, we couldn't do anything against them in the second half. Mahomes, like he said, was perfect, and they were just dotting us up down the field. It was easy for them to just move the ball up and down. But it's going to be harder this year. We have way better linebackers. We have a way better secondary. I mean, Jalen Carter might be the best player on the field out of both teams. He is obvious. I mean, Mahomes obviously, but whatever. He's an absolute game wrecker. He's compared to Aaron Donald. I know it's early, whatever, but he is that kind of player, and he can just destroy an entire game by himself. And you saw him do it against the Rams too. I mean, he had that kind of impact defensively. So you're going to have to, and we have a better defense coordinator. Vic Fangio's a lot smarter, a lot better scheme than what Gannon had, and he's got a lot more players to do what he wants against him. I hope he is able to get to Mahomes. I don't want to say blitz all the time because Mahomes is very good against the blitz. So I'm not saying go out there and just blitz, and then he just kills you. But you definitely got to have to send some different looks at him. You can't just sag off of him because Fangio does look like to do that here and there. And then the other key factor is the run game. I mean, they haven't let up a 100-yard rusher this year, Kansas City. I think that's going to change. I mean, they haven't played an offensive line like us. They haven't played Saquon Barkley. He's the best running back in the game this year. He's been, I mean, he's been an MVP type of player. So I think that he's definitely going to run for 100 yards. I think that we'll be able to do a good job at running the ball. I thought the Bills did a good job at running the ball against them, but then they went away from it. Cook had a good game because he had a lot of passing yards as well, but I feel like they just went away from him in the second half. And I just think our run game is just elite and Saquon's elite, and we stick to it. And that's going to be the plan. Devontae Smith has a really good track record against the Chiefs, which is so we got to get him involved again because he does do really well against them. I think he's played them 3 times in his career, and he's had a good history against them. So we're going to have to get him involved a lot in this game. But I mean, I just think it's a completely different team than 2 years ago. It's crazy to say, but we're like a lot better. That defense is way better, and the run game's way better.
Okay, that's fair. Any one of you guys nervous? Any one of y'all nervous? Like it's a Super Bowl, bro. Like what's going on? Like how y'all?
I'll feel it on Saturday and Sunday. Like as it gets closer, I'll end up getting nervous.
I'll tell you the vibe in Philly. I'm nervous because everybody in Philly isn't nervous. Everyone around here is like, this is easy. I'm like, yeah, we are playing the Chiefs. And then they're like, I don't care. But when you really think about it, we are the better team. We really are. Like, we're the better team. We're better at all offensive line. We're better secondary this year. We have better linebacking play this year, better receivers, better running back. They got a better tight end and they got a better quarterback. And just because we're the better team doesn't mean we should win, because it happens a lot. But, we are the better team. They have Reed, who's got 2 weeks to prepare, so that makes me nervous. He's a great coach. And I don't know. I mean, Nick has gotten us this far twice, so you got to throw your hat to him. But hopefully he's got a good game plan. But if the Eagles play their best ball, 100% they should win this game. If the Chiefs play their best ball and the Eagles play their best ball, the Eagles should win.
Dmac, any thoughts to that?
I mean, I obviously will disagree with that, but I think that the thing that I always say specifically going into these games is that people underrate what it is having Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo in this matchups can present, because every single team, no matter how great they are, does have those weaknesses. The reality of our roster is that it's very malleable. We can put guys in specific positions to try and take advantage of those weaknesses. And those 2 guys are going to make sure that they not only put our guys in positions to take advantage of those weaknesses, they put the other team in, uncomfortable situations that they have to try and raise their game to. And of course, the Eagles have the talent to be able to do so. But at some point throughout this game, both sides of the ball are going to be asked to do things that they don't feel all that comfortable in doing so. How do they respond in those moments? Ultimately, you can beat us. One of those times is Josh Allen at the end of the second half throwing the deep ball to Mac Hollins, and look, that results in the touchdown. But then some of those other times is the 4th and 5 where you catch them on the blitz, and then they have to throw a deep ball to Dalton Kincaid, and it doesn't get completed. So sometimes you live on the edge of those variances, and certainly, going into this when you don't look like you have the most perfect roster, we've had guys turn over. But ultimately speaking, we lean on the Hall of Fame talent that we have, the experience that we have being in these moments, and the coaching game plans that go into this and give us an advantage on both sides of the ball.
Well said, man. Both of you guys. Listen, just from a neutral standpoint, a football fan. Obviously, I rock with this guy right here, no matter what. Came up short this year, but you know, I truly think the Eagles, when it comes to an overall season aspect and roster standpoint, I agree with process. I do think they're the best team in football from a roster standpoint, 1,000%. I think offensively and defensively, like they built everything brick by brick to an extent when it comes to how they added over the years. Slay, AJ Brown, the good drafting. I cannot ignore the good drafting. Chauncey back, and everything that they've been doing. You know what I'm saying? Like Zach Bond coming in and having an impact that he did immediately. Saquon, you know, how can I ignore that too? So I think everything that the Eagles been doing has been adding and adding and adding over the last couple of years, or really 3 years. Really, that's when I want to say it started, 3-4 years when it started, because some of those guys that were there then are still here now. And it got them to 2 Super Bowls. Process, I want to circle to you though, real quick. Man, you've been through a lot. Sixers fan, Philly fan, Eagles fan. You know, you haven't really experienced too much winning, you know, especially when it comes to a championship standpoint. What will winning this Super Bowl mean to you in the city of Philadelphia? But just start with yourself.
Well, the city or me for sure. I mean, it means everything because I talk a big game, so it'd be great to have this to back it up. Obviously, so I mean, but it's just the great. It was the greatest moment. This is the first one and only one we ever won right here, and it was the best night of my life. It was just outrageous. It's such a good thing for the city of Philadelphia because they really just want to win, and everyone is just so passionate, and they come off rude and they come off, aggressive and stuff like that, but it's just because they love their sports teams. And yeah, it does kind of suck because I haven't experienced a lot of championships, but we do have good teams throughout our franchises in this city, and they just keep falling short and falling short. I mean, the Sixers fall short every year. The Phillies, they were in the World Series, they lost. They go back to the, NLCS, they lose. The Eagles get back to the Super Bowl, they lose in the Super Bowl. They have a good year and they lose in the playoffs. So it's like it's cool to see them be good, but like you kind of want to get the job done. So it would mean a huge deal to win this Super Bowl for us. And it would also mean a huge deal because I don't want to see the Chiefs three-peat. I don't want to see our former head coach win 3 championships in a row. I don't want to see, and I don't want to lose to them again in the Super Bowl. And we took down Brady, so we got to take down them. So I mean, it'd be awesome to say that the 2 Super Bowls that we won so far are against Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, Bill Belichick and Andy Reid. Like it'd be it'd be amazing, and it would really solidify how good the Eagles franchise has been since I was a kid. I mean, since I grown up in the early 2000s, we've been the gold standard for the NFC for sure. We have the most NFC title wins. We have 4 Super Bowl appearances, so we need to make it 2 wins out of 4 instead of 1 for 4. So it would mean a lot, and it means a lot for the city. I mean, this is a football town first and foremost before anything. So if they could win, it just you saw how excited we were just to get there, and the streets were filled with people. So if we could win it, it'd be huge.
Well, you said some good things, man. Beating Tom Brady and then beating Mahomes, beating Bill, beating Andy. Phenomenal takeaway. I cannot agree with you anymore. I only can imagine how special that I feel, and you can share that with your family members, your kids, your nieces, your nephews, whatever, as they get older and get to the sports. Dmac, I'm with process though. To be completely frank, obviously I'm in the AFC. I do not want anybody. I understand how big a 3-peat will be. It's insane. First and foremost, a 3-peat is insane. I understand how big it will be, but as a Ravens fan, diehard Ravens fan, I'm in the same conference as you. It will be hard for me to accept that and actually soak it in and enjoy it as a football watcher, just a fan of just watching the game. But you, man, obviously back to back. So I'm not sure how much it will mean to you, but 3-peating could mean a lot. So we don't know what you're going to say right here, and I'll give you the floor real quick, man. What will win this Super Bowl mean to you in the
Well,
city?
I'll say this. I'll start out by saying this. I completely understand why any neutral or non-Chiefs Eagles fan in this would be rooting against us. We are in that place as far as the sport is concerned. I accept it. I welcome it because if you're a fan of really any team, you always want to be the villain. I know people like to be liked, etc. But you want to get to the point where how much you've won is sickening to the rest of the league that you're playing against. And so being in this moment is awesome. And I understand why people don't do it or would root against this. The one thing I will say is you have two great teams that are about to play. So please try and enjoy the football game that you're going to watch, because I do think it's going to be a great game from that aspect. But as far as for I'll say for the city, first and foremost, if you come to Kansas City, and it's been this way, pre-Mahomes, pre-Reed, it's been about the Chiefs and about barbecue. Those are the two things. No matter where you go in the city, you're going to see Chief stuff. You're going to see people wearing it every single Friday. It's called Red Friday around here. Everybody's got something red on, no matter what, because that's what the city has always been built around. And it's the reason why, we're the loudest stadium in the world from that standpoint. We broke that record all the way back against, Tom Brady on Monday Night Football. This has always been a point of pride as far as Kansas City is concerned. And now that you have taken what is a passionate fan base that has always loved this team, tailgated for hours on end before every single game, in the 90s, 80s, etc., that has a tradition of that, and now has taken it essentially globally to be the center of the National Football League, obviously given the celebrities that are now tied to the team, given Travis Kelce's status as well. It's taking it to a different level from that aspect. And for this city, for this team and this franchise, we take a great point of pride. The fact that, the AFC Championship trophy has Lamar Hunt's name on it because of what he meant, naming it the Super Bowl, etc., to then be the first team to win 3 straight Super Bowls in a row in the Super Bowl era. That point would be massive for what this franchise can be able to accomplish. And it's something that would be a full circle moment in that aspect. So it would be huge. On a personal level, y'all know I like to talk a lot of shit. So I would enjoy it from that standpoint. There'd be, I mean, to be honest with you, ain't nothing else, because, we obviously lost to Tom Brady multiple times in the playoffs. We lost to teams, etc. But if you have just lay it on table and say you're the only team to have a 3-peat in the Super Bowl era, like, ain't much else to say after that. So for me personally, I'd enjoy it. But, as a Chiefs fan, as a person that, my grandfather, been rooting for this team for damn near 80, or I should say 60 years now. I mean, I would enjoy it from that standpoint, because I know how special it is, specifically for the fans that have seen all of this and put so much pride and joy into this franchise, and really take it as a point of pride specifically for the city, for everybody that's rooting for this team. So to be that team to 3-peat and be the first one in National Football League history, that would be a massive thing.
Damn, man. Y'all both made me. Y'all both. Damn, man. Y'all said some good things, man.
Nah, that would suck, Ev.
Yeah, it would.
Bro,
the good thing that he said was about the city of Kansas City. The 3-peat thing, I don't care about that part. But the city of Kansas City with the Red Friday and all that stuff, that's really cool, man. I'm not gonna lie, that's really cool. That's really cool. Did you say your grandfather played for the Chiefs?
No. He rooted for the Chiefs.
Oh,
when he moved here from Missouri, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it would suck. It definitely, the 3-peat would definitely suck 1,000%. I mean, because I think that's something, and I truly mean this. That's something that will never be replicated. Like, I think that will never be replicated, especially within the next 50 years, I would say. I just don't think that'll be replicated. Now, obviously, things can happen down the line or whatever, but it'd be really hard for me to believe that a 3-peat will happen again. I'm just sorry. That's just not an easy thing to do. You really have to have
in sports was the Lakers in 2000 in all of like 4 major sports.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly.
And to say that, and this is something that I do like to emphasize, everything that's had to come to this, because to come to this moment specifically, like, you have to have, and wherever you want to put him, a top 3 quarterback of all time, because I just truly believe that's where Patrick Mahomes, the air that he's breathing at this point. Andy Reid, a top 5 coach of all time. You just look at it, that's what the type of resume he has. In my opinion, one of, if not the greatest defensive coordinators in National Football League history, Steve Spagnuolo, and we've seen his track record as well. Hall of Famers, Travis Kelce, Hall of Fame, Chris Jones, these amazing draft classes that we've had, specifically 2022 one that has not lost a playoff game in 3/4 years now. Those are the types of things that have to come together. So everything that has now, come together in this moment, obviously, being able to replicate that, that'd be incredibly difficult to do. And that's why this moment is so huge for us.
Yep. And that's exactly the same angle that I was about to take it at with the players, the coaches, etc. Process. I'm gonna circle back to you for this next one. real quick. And it could be anybody. It literally can be anybody on the team, a star player, a regular guy that contributes, whatever, offensive line, defensive line, linebacker, wide receiver. But where do you truly feel like you guys have an advantage at or advantages at in this matchup to why you can win the game? And if your X factor in the matchup or X factors in the matchup will be because of that, those advantages. So who's your X factors, and do you think they'll be because of what your advantages are, or if it's different, that's cool. Just explain what do you think the advantages will be in the matchup and who your X factors are in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I think our advantages are is this is as a unit is the secondary and what we can do to try and limit their pass game and try and limit Mahomes and force them to run the ball. So I think that our pass defense, if it can hold up and we can stop them from throwing the ball and getting going and stuff like that, like we did all season, I mean, it's just a huge advantage for us and force them to run the ball. And then when they run the ball, they're going to have to run into Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis and all these. And then if they get past them, they got Bond behind them. So, I mean, I think that our pass defense is just a huge, huge, huge factor in this to stop Mahomes, get him going, and don't let him use his legs either. And I think that's going to have to come. I mean, I think the X factor is going to be a guy who, he was a nobody last year on defense. It's for sure going to be Bond. You cannot let Mahomes beat you with his legs. You can't let him extend plays like that. You got to keep him contained. There's so many times you see on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10 that, you have everybody locked up down the field. And then all of a sudden he's running out there, getting up first downs. Like those are back-breaking plays for a defense. You play such good defense, and then you have him, just running around back there. So, I mean, I think he's going to be the X factor as a linebacker, as the best linebacker on our team. And then another X factor on offense, I think it's going to be, I mean, it's Barkley. I mean, he can dominate a game. So if he just has his normal, Saquon Barkley type of game, I mean, he can just take over. So if he could just be what he's been all season, we're just a tough, tough team to beat that way. So he's just a huge, 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 huge piece to this entire offense. And like he was saying, like they're going to send those exotic blitzes. They're going to send stuff that he hasn't seen before. But Hurts played against Spags and Andy Reid 2 years ago, and they sent everything. They did everything they could to try and stop us. And they didn't have an easy time doing it. And now I think we're better than we were. So that offensive line is going to have to hold up, obviously, and they're a little banged up, but they've been stout this year. Another guy like Mekhi Becton, who was a nobody last year, turned him into a guard, and he's been an all-pro. He's been just unreal. So, I mean, but the two X factors, I'd say Bond and Barkley.
Okay, and advantages in secondary. That's a good call out. Dmac, how you feeling, man? Do you think you guys have any advantages in this matchup? If so, what? And then who will be your X factors in this matchup? If you have two offense, defense, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, so I mean, as far as this specific matchup is concerned, I kind of mentioned it earlier about trying to attack certain weaknesses from the standpoint. I think that Vic Fangio's defense and their philosophy of being able to limit explosive plays and the ability then to rally and tackle, certainly from that standpoint, it does play into our hands in the way that we've been playing offense the entirety of the year, trying to be efficient, consistently using RPOs, quick passing game, getting the ball out of our hands, and then also attacking the intermediate areas of the field. So from that standpoint, I feel good about that matchup. Again, huge thing, got to take care of the football. The Eagles have a great job of being able to punch the ball out. You have to be secure as far as the ball is concerned. As far as their pass defense is concerned, they're really good at being able to take away the deep ball passing. Again, not necessarily a concern for us. We don't really throw the ball deep. Their short passing game is very good as well. They've been doing a good job of being able to rally and tackle, and that's one aspect of it. Their one weakness is in the intermediate area of the field. Specifically, if you're talking about the ability to get after the middle of the field, use multiple tight ends, have some physical guys on the middle of the field, they're going to force the quarterback to make some tight window throws as well. Fortunately, of course, we're comfortable with our quarterback being able to make those throws. So it's going to be important to be able to pepper the middle of the field. To me, Andy Reid is going to sit down and kind of look at their defense and say, we're going to put Cooper DeJean, we're going to put Zach Bond, and we're going to put Nolan Smith, and we're going to put Oren Burks to the test early. We're going to see with those four guys how they react to some of our heavy personnel sets, and specifically our ability to use motion to try and create space as well in the middle of the field. I feel good about it from that matchup. Again, that involves we've been able to use Xavier Worthy in that case Juju as well has been pretty good, certainly was versus the Bills. DeAndre Hopkins and his big body in the middle of the field is going to be massive. The one thing is, of course, they're going to want to put some extra eyes on Travis Kelce. As a result, Noah Gray's growth, I think, throughout the entirety of this year has been key. The ability to get the ball to him as well, specifically using those heavy personnel sets, is going to be massive. So, really, you're talking about those three guys, Noah Gray, Juju, and DeAndre Hopkins. Those three guys, I think, are really X factors for our short passing game, our intermediate passing game. If we can get those guys cooking in the middle of the field, then things will continue to open up as well. Our run game is going to come and go. Ultimately speaking, we're not going to create explosive plays. They're not going to allow them, so it doesn't necessarily matter from that standpoint. But run it enough to be able to stay on time and on schedule. I feel comfortable with that, especially with our RPO game as well. Flipping aside, their ability to get after from the middle of their defense is spectacular. Obviously, headlined by Jalen Carter, but Melvin Williams is a guy that a lot of people sleep on. He can really create some havoc if you leave him one-on-one as well. Jordan Davis, Maury Jomo, those guys also have their moments. If we can be stout in the middle of the field, like that's going to be massive for our offensive line from that standpoint. So Mike Caliendo, Trey Smith, in my opinion, is a guy that's up for a contract. If he can handle one-on-one those matchups that he has with Jalen Carter, then that gives him an advantage. If he cannot, and we have to send extra pressure, then it's going to be a big game for Mike Caliendo to hold up without help from Creed Humphrey as well. As far as, when they have the ball, obviously Saquon Barkley is a massive thing. I can give you any number of X factors for our defense, but there's no real true X factor. Everybody has to play smart assignment football on a consistent basis. Otherwise, if you give Saquon Barkley daylight, he will make you pay for it. And you know that for certain. Fortunately, on our side, we were fourth as far as rush defense per game is concerned, taking out that Week 18 game versus the Denver Broncos. We've been solid as far as tackling is concerned as well throughout the season. That has to continue as well. Everybody has to understand their assignment. If we can put the pressure on Jalen Hurts to throw the ball, Devontae Smith has been really good against us, specifically because he understands space and timing, especially versus zone coverage. Dallas guarded as well as a tight end is an X factor too. So I can give you any number of guys on our defensive side. The one guy I'll point out, and also these two guys specifically, Charles Omenihu and Tershawn Ward, because of how good Chris Jones is, he's always going to wreak havoc. They're eventually going to send two guys at him. That's going to open up those one-on-one matchups for those guys specifically. Last week, it was Mike Dana going up against a really good Buffalo Bills offensive line, like one offensive line that I thought was a top 5 unit really throughout. Mike Dana was able to wreak havoc. Those specific guys going up against the interior of the offensive line of the Eagles, if they can create some mismatches as well, along with what Chris Jones brings, then you talk about cooking with 4. Then that opens up some possibilities because specifically early on in the Buffalo game, Chris Jones was wrecking havoc. Then we got into the second half and really the zone blitzes and the defense or the other guys on the defensive line were able to take over. We know that if we force Jalen Hurts to drop back and pass and play some zone coverage behind that, we have a chance to really give the Eagles some issues. That's going to be a massive piece of it, but it starts with being able to get pressure with 4, certainly from that standpoint, to open up the Steve Spagnuolo blitz packages that we know we want to get after. But as far as defense is concerned, I could give you any number of X factors, but everybody has to be sound on early downs because Saquon Barkley will find the hole if you give him the ability to, especially. So that means all 11 players have to play on a string from that standpoint. If you get to the secondary part of it and you can get Jalen Hurts into a drop back passing game, our zone blitz packages, and certainly Tershawn Warren and Charles Omenihu are going to be 2 major guys as far as along the defensive line.
Wow, man. I truly feel like y'all are answering everything so good, bro. And I cannot wait for this Super Bowl. Like obviously y'all are a little on the quiet, chill side. I get it. And from a neutral standpoint, I'm just pumped up and ready to watch. I can't wait for Sunday. I'm just ready to watch. I cannot wait for Sunday. I can't wait for the game. 6:30, New Orleans. This is Saquon Barkley's birthday, right?
Yeah,
Saquon and Cooper's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, imagine that. Damn. If you made it this year, that'd be insane. If you made this far in the episode, please do not forget to like, comment, and share and subscribe. Road to 1,000 subscribers. Fact and Stats is a podcast. It's a clothing brand. And it's also a daily sports show Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. This is my last question for you guys, fellas. Just give us a score prediction for the game, and that'll be that. Dmac, what you got the game going?
So I'll give you the score prediction, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention this guy. He's gone through a lot to get to this point, through his own, poor choices as well. And I won't, not mention that from that standpoint. But Kareem Hunt and the ability for him to be in this moment to where he was kicked off the team before we ever really were able to run anything in the middle of the 2018 season. And now he's able to get here. He said that he was going to give it his all for his team, and obviously came back off the couch has been really key for us as well. If we get in close, he's going to end up getting the ball and be a key factor from that standpoint. So I do think that this is an opportunity for him to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl, and I think that that'd be a nice full circle moment for Kareem Hunt. Ultimately speaking, I think it's going to be close. We only tend to play close games. That's just the way we do. We like to have some nice TV moments as well. We certainly like to make these Super Bowls nice and dramatic for the heartbeats at home. So I think that we end up winning 27-23. I think it's a really close game. I think that Philly certainly comes to play. Ultimately speaking, I think we are able to take advantage of those weaknesses every once in a while, just enough to get off the field. I think you see 2 big sacks on Jalen Hurts that gets us off the field on defense. Patrick Mahomes is able to make those intermediate throws that keep us on time and on schedule, and we get out of there with the win.
And what was that score you said?
27-23.
27-23. Okay. Process, man. What about you, man? What's your score prediction for the game?
That's funny. I have a similar score, 30-23 Eagles. I think that again, if we play up to our standards, which I think we have all playoffs, should be pretty easy. I mean, they're a tough team, but if the Eagles play Eagles football, we should be able to bring the Lombardi Trophy back here where it belongs, for sure. Hopefully, Hurts, shuts all the haters up too, because nobody thinks he could do it, and he's proven time and time again that he's got what it takes to win. So hopefully, he has a good game, and I think that him and Smitty are gonna shut some people up for sure.
Okay. Listen. My last thing. Way off script. Not that off script, but this question was not on the slate, was not on the docket. Please answer to the best of your ability and just be honest. Say you guys were to lose, and I'm gonna start with you, Process. This hypothetically, I'm not saying either one of you guys think we're gonna lose. Say you guys were to lose, Process, and you were in an Eagles space on Twitter, or you on an Eagles group chat, or you on an Eagles phone call with about 3 to 4 fans. What would you say to your fellow fans if you guys take a L?
Man, if we lose, it's probably going to be because we just made too many mistakes. Because other than that, I don't see any reason why we lose. So if we lose because of that, I'm just going to say we have a really good future. Obviously, I'm not going to be upset about it because we have a young team. We have a ton of people under contract, so I'm not too worried about our future, obviously, but I'd be disappointing because it's hard to get to the Super Bowl. But I'd say, we made too many mistakes, and you can't make mistakes. I said it time and time again. You cannot make mistakes against this team. Like Buffalo, Allen played a good game, but he wasn't good enough in the first half. So if he was good enough in the first half, they probably would have won that game. And if you keep them hanging around, they're going to win. And the only other way I think we lose is if we somehow get into a shootout and we leave that motherfucker with the ball. I'll be so pissed off. And he walks us down the field. I'll be terrified of that. Similar to the Brady thing. We got lucky. We had a forced fumble on him. So if I knew you guys then, you would have. I didn't even know what to say. I didn't want to watch when Brady got the ball back with a few minutes left. So those are the only ways I see us losing. And the only thing I'm worried about are the Eagles. And it's kind of a big worry is Elliott hasn't been consistent kicking the ball. That could really mess us up. But other than that, if we lose this game, it's because we turn the ball over, which we haven't done all since week 4, and we made mistakes, which we haven't done all playoffs. But I just don't think that's going to happen. And hopefully Nick doesn't make any mistakes. That would really piss me off.
Okay. I mean, well said. Dmac, I know since a little off script, you're coming off 2 straight championships or 2 straight Super Bowls. But what would you say if you guys lose to your fellow fans in the group chat or Twitter space or whatever the case may be?
Yeah, look, I mean, if as far as reasons are concerned, turnovers and missed tackles on defense are going to be killer. Obviously, they've got guys that understand how to take advantage with the ball in the hands. With Jalen Hurts, and certainly as well. But we know what Saquon Barkley can do to miss tackles as far as that's concerned. That could turn a 10-yard gain into a house call. Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, those guys are really good after the catch. Certainly Dallas Goedert too. So missed tackles on defense can't have them. We were really good throughout the entirety of the season as far as that was concerned. Really, the only big gain as far as the James Cook last week versus the Bills was because of a mixed tackle on the edge there. We have to be able to tackle Saquon Barkley on a consistent basis. So missed tackles or turnovers, I think our offense can get after them. But if you have the untimely turnover that ends up flipping the field, then that could be massive, as we saw really in the first Super Bowl that ended up going our way from that standpoint. We created 5 fumbles from the Buffalo Bills last week and weren't able to recover any of them. Of course, we dropped the ball once and they were able to get it back. So that in and of itself can really turn the game. So we cannot turn the ball over, can't have missed tackles, and that would probably be the reason why from that standpoint. And look, I mean, I'll tell you guys, I think we have the majority of the pressure in this game, and I always look at it this way. When you have the opportunity to accomplish something that's really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, then you can't let that slip away. And I truly do believe we're not going to get another chance to three-peat. That's just the way these things tend to go. So I think we have the most pressure as far as that's concerned. The Super Bowl window is always going to be open. We've always set ourselves up to make sure that that's the reality of the situation. But this moment, to be able to accomplish this specific thing, is probably something that we're not going to get again. So this is something we have to go out there and get done from that aspect.
Thank y'all. Listen, thank y'all both. You about to say something in the process?
We stopped 1 3-peat before we can do it again because the Patriots won before our Super Bowl and after our Super Bowl.
But they lost. I've heard you guys say that they lost the in between one before. They won in 2014. They lost in 2015.
It's going to be right next to it. Look, coming back to Chile. So we're going to stop 2 dynasties pretty much.
Both of you fellas, thank y'all so much. I truly enjoyed the Super Bowl. If it's me at the end, I am going for the Eagles for obvious reasons. Do not want a three-peat. Would that be great to witness a three-peat and a quarterback I respect and I have no issue with? For sure. But I do not want it to happen. I'm going all the way for the Eagles. I like Jalen Hurts. I like Saquon. I like a lot of the guys that they have over there. And I'm rooting for them to win. I'm going to enjoy the Super Bowl. Thank y'all. Oh, wow. The light cut off in time anyway. Thank y'all so much for joining me. Do y'all have any last words for the people?
Go Birds.
Man. Chiefs Kingdom. You know what it is.
All right. Thank y'all both, man. Y'all have a great night. And thank y'all for joining me today, man. Good luck in the Super Bowl.
Thank you.
Man. Thanks for having me on.